All right. So, good evening. I'm Opal Elliott. I'm a volunteer community ambassador with AARP Virginia. So, we'd like to welcome you to AARP Virginia's retirement planning webinar, and thank you for joining us. This program is scheduled to run for 80 minutes, but we may finish a bit early depending on how many questions you submit. So I'll be joined today by my friend and colleague, Sarah Jacobs, one of our AARP Northern Virginia volunteers, who will field our entire questions at the end of the session. As I mentioned earlier, please place all your questions in the Q&A, which is at the right bottom of your screen. Please hold all your questions, place them in the Q&A as our chat feature will be on disabled sometimes during the presentation. So AARP really believes that preparing for our financial future is all about achieving concrete financial milestones that make sense for us. Even if these milestones are very modest, each one makes our financial future bright and more secure. So we really do applaud you tonight for deciding to spend time with us this Tuesday evening, thinking about and planning for your financial future. Retirement planning doesn't have to be daunting, even though for many of us it seems that way. So in this evening's program, you'll learn some tips for determining if you are on track and learn practical strategies to help you achieve retirement peace of mind. In the reminder email for today's session, we included a link to download the slide presentation and a link to the resources page listing all the websites that we'll share this evening. So I'm really thrilled to be joined this evening by Pamela Sams. So like me, Pamela is also an AARP Virginia volunteer community ambassador, and we're so fortunate to have her on our team. Pamela is a chartered retirement planning counselor, and she spent more than the last 20 years helping people improve their personal and financial wealth through solid financial life planning. Pamela is a strong advocate for financial literacy, and she voluntarily conducts financial education seminars and workshops on behalf of AARP. So while Pamela is indeed a financial planning professional, her role here this evening is to provide general guidance, not specific advice or recommendations. But hopefully, and not only hopefully, we know that the information we cover and the resources we share will help you make informed decisions about your financial future. So with that, please give a warm Zoom welcome to Pamela Sams. Pamela, the Zoom is yours.
Thank you, Opal. Are you able to hear me? Because something popped up that said my audio quality may be low, but as long as you are able to hear me, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Awesome, great.
Okay.
Hello and welcome. My name is Pamela Sams, and I am, as Opal said, also a AARP Virginia community ambassador, and I really look forward to facilitating tonight's conversation about retirement planning. I really get jazzed up about this topic because that's what I do, is really educate people in this space. People plan probably more for their vacations than they actually do for their retirement. So I am glad that you're here tonight to really get some resources from AARP on how you can do better with planning for retirement. But before that, you remember this presentation is intended to provide general guidance, not specific legal or financial advice. Individual circumstances may differ and should really be taken into consideration before acting. Even though I am a financial advisor, I'm not going to give any specific recommendations or advice in this conversation, but hopefully the information that I will cover today will help you make informed decisions about your financial future. Make sure you consult a professional advisor regarding your personal situation if need be. But before we get into the agenda for tonight's presentation, I have a couple of poll questions just to see who we have on the line with us. So let's look at our first poll question. How many years do you plan to stay in the workforce? And if you can answer that, that would be great.
Looks like we're running neck to neck. Pam, it hasn't completed yet, but looks like less than 5 years. Most of the people, 42% have said they have less than 5 years, and 5 to 10 years, 33%. And we have 25% that have told us they're already retired.
Okay.
So
All right.
got a good mix tonight.
Yeah, we definitely got a good mix tonight. And those people who responded less than 5 years, you're definitely in the right spot to get some information as you prepare for planning for your retirement. Let's look at what we have on our second poll. So which best describes your current situation? If you can spend a couple of seconds and just let me know where you are in terms of your current situation.
And it looks like, Pam, tonight, the majority of people work in private industry, followed very closely by government employees, 25% government employees, 42% private industry. And then we have folks that are fully retired and have no plans to work again, and that's 25%.
Okay, all right. Nobody answered. I work part-time at extra fun money. So we didn't get anybody in that category. But great. So we got a fair mixture of federal employees, state, municipal, and private industry. So some of the information that we will share tonight will really cover some of those areas in terms of your retirement plan. So thank you very much for participating in the poll this evening. So this presentation, like I said, today we'll share some information about the important aspects of your financial health as you define your own financial goals, set your priorities, and also prepare for retirement and take those necessary steps to secure your future. We'll provide information that will help you recognize the steps that you need to do in order to prepare for your retirement, no matter where you are with your finances. And remember, personal finance is just that. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So as such, you make sure you do consult with a professional to make a plan that is in your best interest for yourself. AARP will provide a number of resources as I go through this presentation. You will get a copy of the slides and also the links to a lot of the resources. So don't feel free. You have to, jot down all of those URLs as I explain those to you. You will get a copy. But AARP has tons of resources that I will refer to. And as you take your financial journey, really look at some of those resources. And we'll cover, like I said, most of those in this presentation tonight. So as I get started this session, you're really going to learn about the ways to determine how much money you're going to need for retirement compared to how much that you are on track to have saved for retirement. And then also strategies to bridge the gap if you discover there is a gap. And don't be alarmed, a lot of people do find there may be a gap in their in their retirement resources. So let's take a look at where we are. Before we hop into that, let's take a look at an exercise. This is one of those participation. Let's get people shaked up a little bit. It's 7 o'clock, at least on the East Coast, and wherever you are, we're in the evening time, and you probably had a long day of work, and those people retired. You probably had a long day of other things that you're doing. But let's warm it up and really think about today's topic in terms of retirement. And the first step is really to visualize what kind of retirement that you want. Do you want to focus on a hobby, travel, volunteer, maybe spend time with kids or grandkids, maybe start a new business or start a second act? So the first thing about retirement, of course, it is the money piece, but actually, what are you going to be doing in retirement is just as important. So if we could take a few minutes just to write down some words that come to mind as you think about your own retirement goals, And if you could throw those in, I guess the Q&A or chat, I'm not sure which one you're using, Opal, for that. But let's take a few minutes just to kind of throw out some things that you're thinking about as you visualize your retirement.
We'll be using the chat for this.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see what we have coming in. Travel and spending time with family. Hobbies and volunteer opportunities. Wonderful. It's always great to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Let's see what else. Travel. Travel is always at the top of all of our lists when we retire.
Exactly.
All righty. Let's see if we get anything else.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Travel, volunteer, and exercise. Wonderful. Exercise, travel, and volunteer.
Okay. I'm seeing a trend there with travel and volunteer. And we're always, as you know, Opal, looking for volunteers at AARP. So
Absolutely
those
right.
people who said volunteer, definitely look at the resources for aarp.org/volunteer. So take a look at that. But those are really some excellent ideas, and travel always comes up at the top of people's list. But this is a very valuable exercise. So I encourage you, even after today's session, really to do some more reflecting in this category. Consider writing down your choices and then ranking them in order of importance to you, being as specific as possible, because this can really help you determine what matters the most and whether you will need either the same, perhaps less, or even more in retirement that will support the lifestyle that you have visualized in retirement. So thank you very much for your participation. So let's look at the first topic, determining what you will need for retirement. And I believe that's generally where most people start taking an assessment of what they're actually going to need. So how much will you need to retire? This question we ask ourselves all the time, and we're here definitely to help you in this session. Now we're going to walk through some steps in calculating how much money you will need for retirement in this section. And then also we will meet a hypothetical couple that's doing the exact same work that you're doing, and we'll refer to them as an example in this presentation as you begin to do your own calculations. And at the end of this portion of the presentation, you'll be able to identify some of the resources needed to allow you to calculate your own projected retirement needs. And we'll be using a helpful and free tool available on aarp.org/money for this section. It is called the AARP Retirement Calculator. The link is in your handout material, and we will put those in the resource. And then after today's session, I really encourage you to use that tool on your own calculations. So let's meet Pat and Ronnie. This is our favorite couple. They're doing some of the same work, like I said, as you guys are doing. So in this presentation, we're going to follow Pat, age 55, Ronnie, age 52. And they're legally married for the last 20 years, and as they calculate their retirement needs. Now, Pat works full-time and earns a salary of $60,000 per year, and Ronnie works full-time with a salary of $50,000 per year, and they both plan to retire at age 67. Now, they have been saving 8%, that's about $8,000 of their income per year for their retirement right now. Now, they've decided to sit down and really figure out how much money they're going to need to retire. And the first calculation that they need to make is their current retirement savings. That is how much money that they currently have in their retirement funds. And so what we're going to do is really look at where to find those numbers before we move on to their particular calculations. So for the most part, most common sources of retirement income for most Americans is in a retirement plan through your employer. Some of you may have already have these particular plans, others may not, but don't be concerned if you don't. But the most common types of retirement income is in your employer-sponsored retirement plan. These could be your 401k, your 403b, those federal employees on the line, that would be your TSP, falls into this category. Now, they're often referred to and described as a defined contribution plan, which means these type of retirement plans is where the employee contributes a fixed portion of your income to fund the retirement. Now, in a defined contribution plan, the onus is on the employees to really make decisions and take action on their own retirement. Now, you decide whether you're going to enroll in the plan, unless there's an auto enrollment. A lot of plans are doing these days. For particularly larger employers are doing an auto, so you basically have to opt out instead of opt in. And employees decide whether to enroll or not. And then how much did you actually need to contribute to the plan per your paycheck? And then how to invest those assets. You know, sometimes it could be 3%, 4%, 5% of your income, but you decide what that's going to be. Now, a tip, these retirement accounts really look at your current, you want to look at your current portfolio to ensure that you're getting the maximum matching funds from your employer if the matching is available with your employer. So if you're not sure if your employer matches, make sure you check with HR or benefits to see if they match. Now, the less common type of employer-sponsored retirement accounts are what we call traditional pensions, and they're called defined benefit plans. This is where the employer funds the plan, and once you have met certain requirements using usually the number of years that you've worked, typically 5 or more, when you retire, you will receive a specific or defined benefit, thus the name, amount every month in retirement as long as you live. So those are pension plans. And so, like, again, those federal employees who are on the line, that would be your federal retirement system, so FERS and or CSRS, if you're basically what they call the old retirement system. And then there may be some companies that still have defined benefit or pension plans. Now, we will discuss non-employer sponsored retirement plans such as IRAs and Roth IRAs a little bit later on in the presentation. But if you do currently have them, they should also be included in the amounts along with the other types of plans that we've just reviewed here in your calculations as the amount of money that you currently have saved for retirement. So just as important as your retirement plans do work, your employer-sponsored plans, either defined contribution or defined benefit to traditional pensions and IRA or Roth IRAs, just as important is your Social Security benefits. So let's take a look at that. Now, for most of us, Social Security is the most important part of your retirement picture. Retirement is, you know, if you think about back in the day, what they referred to as a three-legged stool, which would have been your Social Security, your pension, and or your savings on your own. But a lot of people, the pension is not there. So you only have a two-legged stool, which sometimes could be a little bit wobbly. So there's other resources. I won't get into that in this presentation, but just know that you may need another resource if you only have two of those legs in your retirement plan. Back to Social Security. So for most of us, the Social Security is the most important retirement, and deciding when to claim is a big decision. The amount of Social Security that you will collect will be over your lifespan will really depend on your lifetime earnings. Generally, your highest income over the last 35 years, the age that you start collecting, and the number of years that you will collect your benefit. So you've probably heard of 40 quarters. What they'll do is do the top 35 highest earning years, 35. So they're going to shave off the 5 years. The early jobs where you may have worked at the ice cream shop or something when you were younger, they're not going to count all of those. They're just going to look at the core of those 35 years of your highest income. So when you claim is a very personal decision. And if you are married and you both earn a benefit, Social Security, what they do, and they will compare your own benefit to the benefit that you collect on your spouse's record, and then really pay you the higher of the two. So they're going to take, if there is a disparity in the Social Security and perhaps a spousal benefit or on your spouse's record is higher, they're going to give you that versus your own record. Now, you can qualify for Social Security by paying Social Security tax. So you see that on your paycheck through FICA. Part of that goes to Social Security on your earnings as you work. Now, you and your spouse need to have worked and paid into Social Security for at least the 10 years or the 40 quarters, like I said, to be eligible. There are also survivor benefits, there's spousal benefits, there's disability benefits, all of which have their own criteria qualifications and criteria for Social Security. Definitely make sure you refer to the AARP Social Security Resource Center for more information. The link again will be in your handout, so you have that. Make sure you visit that because it has a lot of information on Social Security and claiming and when to do that. Next up, we're going to explore why it pays to wait. Now, let's take some time to really review information that can help you make the best decision in terms of, in regards to your Social Security benefits. When it comes to Social Security, you have choices that really will impact your benefit. One option is to consider waiting to claim in order to increase your monthly benefit amount. You can receive full benefits at your normal or full retirement age, which is for most people 66, between 66 and 67, depending on your birth year. So you probably have something on your statement that says 66 and 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, all of that. So, but somewhere between 66 and 67 will be your what they call FRA. You probably see it on your statement, FRA, full retirement age. You could also receive benefits as early as 62. That's the earliest that you can claim Social Security, but the benefits will be reduced by about 25 to 30%, depending on your full retirement age for the rest of your life. So that's the haircut that you're going to get if you decide to take it at 62, which is the earliest you could take it. So that will also include your survivor benefit. So that's why it's important to consider how the decision is going to impact not only you when you claim, but your family. So you want to be cognizant of making that decision. It also, you can delay the benefits beyond your full retirement age. So beyond 66 or 67, it can increase your benefit by about 8% per year up until age 70. And 70 is the latest you can claim Social Security benefits. So you can see how it pays to wait. So on this chart in this slide, there's the claimant ages for Pat and Ronnie. Pat is going to receive full benefits of $2,157 a month at his full retirement age of 67. That's shown there in the pink, labeled 67. And any benefits received earlier will be shown in the pink and red. So you can see that between 62 and 66. And you can see how there's the reduction in any benefits that start after 66, which is shown in the purple. The pink and the purple are ages 68 through 70, which you can see those are the higher amounts for Pat. Now, if you haven't yet created your account on Social Security website, it's my Social Security account at ssa.gov/my account. Again, those links will be provided to you in your handout. They used to mail those green and white statements. They're trying to save on postages, so they may not be sending it out as regular. They're really encouraging you to go to the website and sign up for your account. There you can view your personalized version of your benefits and see what there are. So you can see the 62, you can see what your full retirement age could be. Well, basically reducted to 62, your full retirement age, and then what the credits, the delayed credits at 70 would be. So for my SSA, you can calculate your expected payouts and then really monitor what's going on with Social Security through news and updates. They had a big increase, cost of living increase with Social Security. So that's represented on there. And you can see how that may affect your claiming in your Social Security benefits as well. Again, like I said, the link is in your handout, so make sure you do. If you have not done it, sign up for your personal account on ssa.gov. Now, deciding when to claim, like I said, is a personal decision that only you can make. But remember, I want you to remember, though, the impact of claiming age isn't just your retirement benefit. Consider how it's going to affect the survivor benefit of your spouse will receive if he or she outlives you. So make sure you consult your significant other in that case. Next up, we're going to take a look at what Pat and Ronnie will receive for Social Security. Now, Pat and Ronnie plan to retire at age 67, as I explained before in the beginning of our presentation. And it's considered by the Social Security Administration to be their full retirement age based on the year that Pat and Ronnie were born. And when they take Social Security benefits or payouts at 67, like I said before, they will receive 2,157 for Pat, and then 1,890 for Ronnie per month. However, they have done the calculations to see what they can get if they decide to delay the credit. So they found that if they wait until age 70 and take it then, Pat will actually increase the benefit to 2,675, and then Ronnie would get 2,344 per month. Now that's an increase of about 24% just by waiting until age 70. Now to figure out the numbers out for yourself, again, you can use the AARP Social Security calculator, which can be found at aarp.org/Social Security benefits. Again, all of the links are going to be provided for you. So just make a star next to that if that's something that you need to do sooner rather than later. As I said before, it does pay to wait. Next up, we're going to consider how lifestyle really affects your retirement savings as well. So how much will you spend in retirement? That's the age-old question. We don't have a crystal ball and we don't know how much, but we can kind of gauge this based on what you're spending now. Could it be more? Could it be less? Could it be the same? Really living modestly could stretch your dollars out further. But that's why I had you do the visualization exercise in the beginning, because based on what you want to do, you may end up spending a little bit more. You know, the travels, the increase of hobbies, things like that, is where, you know, you would take a look at what you may be spending in retirement. The AARP retirement calculator makes an educated guess, of course, about your current lifestyle by starting with your current income, deducting, of course, your employment and income taxes, and subtracting that is your savings, basically. So what's left is your current lifestyle figure. Now the calculator is going to assume that in retirement you would need about 85%. That's the figure that would live closest to your same lifestyle that you are now, because expenses typically are lower for retirees. But you know, we're in an inflationary state. I don't want to get into that right now, but typically retirees will spend less. Now, amount becomes your retirement spending goal with adjustments to inflation each year. So you want to use the calculator will use an inflation adjusted amount. So if you look at the lifestyle areas calculator just by selecting the retirement lifestyle that is lower than or either higher than or either the same of your expenses today. Now, just kind of a general rule, the more moderate lifestyle the calculator is going to assume about 75% of your current income. Your current situation. And then the most extravagant lifestyle, about 95%. And the calculator does allow you to kind of go through a sliding scale and look at percentages based on that, based on your lifestyle. So you can slide up or down depending on that. To determine how much you're actually going to need in retirement, make sure you account for all potential expenses. Be conservative in your estimates. It's better to have too much than not enough. So 3 phases of retirement. And I want to leave this with you here in this section. Think about 3 phases. Your retirement will be in 3 phases. The first one is basically the go-go year. So what I heard was travel, hobby, all of those things. You tend to spend a little bit more in those go-go years. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is the slow-go years. So you've done the traveling, you've done the hobby, you've done the fun things. Now you're slowing down. Expenses tend to be a little bit less in the slow-go years. And then on the back end in phase 3 are basically the no-go years. That's where you're aging. Expenses could be a little bit more in that because of healthcare costs, Medicare, long-term care, all of those things would fall into that phase. So think of your retirement in kind of 3 phases: go-go, slow-go, no-go, when you think about your lifestyle. Now, Pat and Ronnie have compiled all of the numbers, and they can easily review where they stand when it comes to their retirement and meeting their retirement goals. Pat currently has 100,000 in 401k. Ronnie has about 75,000 in 403b. Neither of them will receive a pension or defined benefit plan at full retirement age at 67. We saw where the Social Security benefits would be $2,157 per Pat, and then $1,890 a month for Ronnie. Now they do plan to live a similar lifestyle in retirement, so probably about the same. And they've decided to base their research on about 75% of their current income. Now, using the using the AARP retirement calculator, you can see how their savings plan spans over the years. So in this chart, the dark green is their net income after savings and taxes. And then the light green is their Social Security benefits. And then the gray area is the funds that they will start drawing down from their retirement savings, the 401k and the 403b. And then the red there, that little bit of red, represents the shortfall that they will have each year in retirement, if that exists. Now, Pat and Ronnie's case, you can see the shortfall will start at about age 82 for them, which is the same time that Pat and Ronnie's retirement savings, which is represented in the gray there, are projected to start running out. So Pat and Ronnie right now with the calculator have a shortfall of about $38,177.21 if they don't make any changes or adjustments right now to their retirement savings before they retire. So what can they do to bridge the gap? So next, we're going to take explore some strategies. If you do see there would be a shortfall that could help do that. But I've been speaking for the last 30 minutes or so, so we're going to take another little exercise to see what we can do. So between what you need and what you have could be overwhelming. However, just know that you're not alone. A lot of times people will see a gap. It's never too late to start saving and change course. There are many strategies that we'll go over that can help you bridge the gap between where you currently are and where you hope to be. So in the next section, we're going to really look at several steps that you can consider. Now, I've been just talking for the last 30 minutes, so we're going to do another exercise, get your juices flowing there. So before we begin to get into the strategies, we're going to stop and take a moment to consider a time where you wanted to achieve a goal and that you set for yourself. And it could have been a big purchase. It could have been something that you wanted to accomplish, a project. And so really thinking about what sort of planning that was required to reach the goal, and then really what was successful. How did you achieve the goal? So let's take a few minutes just to jot down a few answers. One time that you had a goal, what sort of planning was involved, and then what made it successful in achieving the goals. So if we could take a few minutes just to jot down a couple of things. Any participation, Opal?
Not yet. I don't see anything in chat yet, but
Okay.
we are hopeful. We are always hopeful.
we got shy people tonight, and
We
maybe
got
they're
shy.
just listening and just taking everything in.
Yes.
But if anybody wants to share, but I always share my story because I shared this quite a bit, Opal, is that I put a deck on my house last year. It took quite a while because I have an HOA, and HOAs are, I don't know where they come from, but they take a long time for the architecture review board, all of those things. So, the planning in itself took, okay, because we just looked at contractors and we got some bids and things like that. And then you go through the HOA process for that. So planning was required, of course, to reach the goal. We have a certain parameter, how much we wanted to spend, and we got a pretty good quote for that. And then the next step was really getting through the HOA, but successful on achieving the goal after, some time period to deal with that. Was finally able to have a really nice deck put on our house, and got a chance to enjoy that this past summer. And bought some new deck furniture and things like that. So that's one of the things that I accomplished by really planning, setting out what goal that I wanted, and then having success after. Any other people share?
Yes, well, we have someone who's done exactly what you've done, Pam. They had a home improvement project. They saved for a while for the project and completed it successfully. And someone else said they saved money each paycheck and accumulated the funds to reach their goal. I think it was the same person that did the
Mhm.
home improvement project. So
Awesome.
you're right on target, and so are they.
Yeah, exactly. Any others?
No, I don't see any more tonight. Maybe it's the rain, but it's not raining everywhere. But home improvement projects, we all have them. I'm having one
Hmm.
done this Friday at my home.
Exactly.
So it's always when you have
Yeah,
a house or anything.
exactly. It's always definitely a big project. But
Mhm.
excellent. I thank you all for sharing and really for participating. Um, what this exercise really does is that, remember the behaviors or qualities can be really transferred over to your money savings goals and your debt reduction strategies as well. If you have a goal, you make a plan for it, and then hopefully you'll be able to achieve that just by following the steps. So basically translating that. But thank you very much, you guys, for participating. Now, great place to start with any goal is bridging a future retirement savings gap is really to strengthen your current foundation. No matter what age or situation that you currently are, unplanned expenses are just going to hop up, and debt can be difficult to manage and may jeopardize even the carefully made retirement plan. Now, in the next section, what we will do is really introduce you to budgeting. Everybody's probably heard of it before, the dreaded B word, but we'll talk about budgeting. We'll talk about planning for emergencies and then how to reduce debt. Now, these steps can help you stay on track to meet your retirement goals, regardless of any of the surprises that life may throw your way. So creating a budget, everyone, like I said, probably know what it is. You might even have one, know how to create one. But what I'd like to emphasize is really the importance of budgeting as it relates to your retirement planning. The ability to save more for retirement is dependent on your ability to manage your money well. So budgeting is really creates that margin that you're looking for, the difference between what your monthly income and your expenses are, lower your debt, and then really be able to save is a great first step in bridging the gap. Now, there are many sneaky ways that our money disappears each month. And, lately our margins have really been thin because things are costing a little bit more, gas, food, all of those things. So money's going to disappear quite often these days. Now, to name a few, there's some things, and I always fall victim to them as well. Late fees, there could be banking fees, there could be subscriptions. That's my Achilles heel, the subscription-based things that we have not canceled, and extras on our phones and our cable accounts and all of these things, streaming services that we no longer need, but we have running in the background. It's $5 here, it's $6 here, whatever, and they just add up over time. But by carefully monitoring your income and expenses, you can free up hundreds of dollars each month. And I always use the example at the end of each year, and basically in the next month coming up, I take a look and take an assessment of what happened during the year, kind of the state of the union of what happened, and then see those areas that I could have been overspending on. And like I said, my Achilles heel is subscriptions. I love music, so I have all of the streaming services. Don't judge, but and some things I may not be even using, but I don't want to let them go because I could, find something eventually that I may want to listen to. But those things add up over time. So what I do at the end of each year, actually December, January, is see what happened, State of the Union. Are there areas I can cut? And last year, I did cut some things. And was able to free up about $75 to $85 of just nonsense stuff I had in my budget. So things like that is where you want to start looking at. Are there things that are running on your budget that you just haven't canceled and you can free up some money there? Now, your budget will help you plan your expenses and savings in advance. Now, AARP, like I said, offers also a lot of resources. So a free tool to help you set up your budget is the AARP Home Budget Calculator. The link again will be in your handout in the material for you. Remember, a budget is an awareness tool first and the guide to saving and planning for retirement later. Now, you could prefer to do a different methods or systems to do your budget There's a lot of different tools out there. You could do a spreadsheet, you could do an Excel spreadsheet, you could do a Google Sheet, you could do it old school, pen and paper. My parents did it for years, had the green notebook, the ledger, and they wrote everything down. Whatever you use, just really decide to look at creating a budget. Like I said, it's an awareness tool, and it gets you in the habit of knowing where your money is going on a month-to-month basis. Now, let's look at your financial emergency preparedness. Now, just 39% of Americans are able to cover an $1,000 emergency if something unexpected happens. That's a huge number of people that that won't be able to even cover $1,000 of something that pops up in their expenses on a month-to-month basis. So here's the issue. Now, if we're not prepared, what happens is that we're more likely to pull out the plastic to cover expenses, which is likely not to help you achieve your goals. You don't want to keep adding on to that. So for the most people, the best place for an emergency fund is a no-fee, low-fee bank account with no withdrawal penalties. If possible, consider setting up an automatic savings, maybe having part of your paycheck go automatically or recurring to your bank account. You could do this from direct deposit. You consider putting a certain percentage directly into your emergency savings fund rather than your regular account. So financial planners like myself really typically recommend about 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses in an emergency fund. For most people, that could be an intimidating amount. Your best bet is really just to simply start an emergency fund with whatever you have and then add to it regularly. My saying is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You just start where you are and contribute to it on a regular basis. So that's your emergency fund. Let's take a look at your debt reduction strategies. Now, if you're concerned about debt, you are not alone. The share of Americans who hold debt, and especially older Americans carry debt, has risen over the last decade. So what's the best way to really get those accounts down to zero once and for all? First, we have to plug the leaks. That's why you go back to your budget to see where your leaks are in your spending on a month-to-month basis. You can't lower your debt if you keep adding to it. One of the tactics is just as simple as taking your credit cards out of your wallet or purse. I know it seems very easy and simple, but a lot of times we just have all of these cards that are easily accessible and we can just pull it out. But if you just take your credit cards out of your wallet or purse, that's one way. You can also remove the one-click payments and store credit card information from online sites. We're coming up into the holiday season. It makes it so easy to go to Amazon, Walmart, all of these different places. And if you have the one click, you all of a sudden you've bought a bunch of stuff. Remove those will help you to avoid the temptation of buying more. And of course, next, you want to stick to that budget that you just created. Now, two popular debt reduction strategies you want to consider is the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. Now, the snowball method really focuses on eliminating the smallest debts first, while the avalanche approach places the highest priority for eliminating the debt with the highest interest rates. So either your debt snowball or your debt avalanche. Now, the avalanche method, on the other hand, looks at reducing the amount of interest that you pay while working towards that zero. The avalanche method of your debts, though, is the preferred method, of course, for most economists, because you're going to save more money on interest, of course. However, since the effort is a long-term strategy and most people love instant gratification and we don't like some of the long-term, it could be harder to stay motivated by using the avalanche versus the snowball. Whichever one you use, though, just take a look at it and make sure you stick to and see what the best reduction strategy is for you. Now, AARP, like I said, has lots of tools. So for additional strategies to customize your situation, AARP does have the AARP Money Map. So again, the link will be in your handout, and I suggest you start those particular areas, links that you want to make sure you visit after our conversation here tonight. So let's move on to discussing strategies for increasing your retirement savings. So we talked about employer-sponsored plans. That's kind of where most people focus in on. And we've talked about the importance of budgeting and debt reduction. Now we'll share some resources regarding long-term savings. So we're going to explore your workplace options. Be sure that you're getting the maximum matching funds that we talked about before in any of your employer-sponsored plans, if they are available. So consult your benefits and your HR to see if that's available. Your employer may offer a match as long as you contribute the minimum percentage. So at least contribute the minimum percentage to get the match with that. Now, through your employer plans, you can set your retirement contributions to automatically increase by a percentage each year. It's called auto escalation. See if that's available in your employer plan. This will allow you to increase your retirement contributions as your salary increase. So instead of increasing your lifestyle, you're basically increasing your retirement savings. Again, it's called auto escalation. See if it's available through your employer. You can contact your employer retirement account administrator for more information on that. You also want to make sure that you review your portfolio mix. There are several options. You could do the target date funds. Most employer plans will have a target date fund where it adjusts the portfolio mix to something less aggressive for a more conservative strategy as you get closer to your retirement age, or you have a moderate, aggressive, conservative type portfolios based on your risk tolerance that could be available in your retirement plans if you do have them. And you want to consider consulting your employer retirement plan administrator to learn more about the investment options that are available in your plan. And you need to direct your advice. If you need more advice, consider consulting a financial advisor in that instance. AARP has an excellent tool called AARP Interview and Advisor Tool. It is a free resource to help you understand a financial advisor's credentials, compensation, tips on how to get the conversation started around your particular needs. And the tool available is on your smartphone, your tablet, computer, and the link again, like I said, is going to be located in your handout, so you'll have that. Finally, if you're age 50 or older, you may be able to take advantage of a catch-up contribution. Additional monies can be deposited into the account for an extra $6,500 in your 401k and your 403b. It may have changed slightly for 2023, so you may want to go to the IRS website and see where they are for 2023. Generally, they increase by $500. So it may be up to 77,000 instead of 6,500. Nonetheless, if you are over 50, make sure you are taking advantage of the catch-up. The catch-up is only if you are maxing your 401k or 403b. In addition, they will let you put in more. Now let's explore your non-employer sponsored retirement plans. Now these are your individual retirement accounts. The additional instead of your employer sponsored plan, be sure you speak to a financial advisor to make sure you on any decision on either to opt out of a retirement plan and or contribute to an IRA or a Roth IRA. So let's explore the Roth first. A Roth IRA is your after-tax individual retirement account. This is income that is after tax, and you put it in. Now, there are income limits that phase out on your eligibility for Roth. You want to consult the IRS to see where you may fall on that. A great feature of the Roth, of course, is that you pay no tax on the gains when you take out qualified withdrawals. You can withdraw Roth contributions without penalty or taxes, as long as the money comes from the contributions and not the earnings. There is also no required minimum distributions for Roths at age 72, contrary to the traditional IRA. Now, on the other hand, you have the traditional IRA. With the traditional, you get the tax deferral on the money as you contribute going in, meaning it's not taxed when it's deposited, but you pay tax when your contributions come out and gains when you take out money. Generally speaking, you're going to pay a penalty, tax penalty, if you withdraw funds before 59.5. That's kind of the magic number with any of your retirement plans is 59.5. without the 10% withdrawal penalty. These plans could also have the catch up on that, usually an extra $1,000 for a Roth or traditional if you're over age 50 for that. Now you can either options make much like the employer sponsored plans. You have a portfolio mix. You want to consult a professional to see what you need to do there with the with your portfolio mix. If you think about Roth and traditional, I always explain it as: do you want your dessert now? Or you want your dessert later? If you want tax now, tax treatment now, you may want to do a traditional versus maybe your dessert later. So that's something that you want to consult a financial advisor to see what's in your best interest there. Now, when preparing yourself for retirement and employing strategies to bridge the gap aren't enough, there are other ways to cut back. And these strategies really focus on cutting back, making lifestyle adjustments and changes to make sure you meet your retirement needs. So some of the things I'm just going to go over now are ways to kind of look at how to make adjustments. Now we want to explore some additional ways to bridge the gap for your retirement fund gap. Now the question is, when you retire, is an important one. Generally speaking, the longer you work, the more money that you will have coming in after retirement. Working longer means that you have fewer retirement years that you need to finance with savings, and it allows you more years to increase your retirement savings, but it also could lead to higher Social Security benefits. Remember, it pays to wait, and then working longer could also increase pension benefits if you receive a pension, if you do have one. So if possible, working longer, either full-time or part-time, maybe some gig work, could be potential savings that you can leverage as a strategy. AARP has the aarp.org/work for more helpful information and resources on the particular topic. Again, the resources will be on your handout. Downsizing. Another way to deal with the gap in retirement funds is to downsize. First, moving. If you want to weigh the cost of a move, make sure there's a careful comparison. If you own your home and stay put, your current house might need some major repairs. By contrast, if you move, there could be fix-up costs on your old house, moving expenses. The move could take you from a house to an apartment, but now the rents are high as well. That could gradually go up. So if you weigh the kind of the advantages and disadvantages of a move, but remember, had you kept your old house and bought a new one, there could be taxes, there could be insurance, there could be upkeep on that. Those costs also rise over time. The next thing is maybe liquidation. Selling items online is a great way to get started. Remember to be realistic. If you are selling things online, they're used goods, so you don't want to price them top dollar. If you are using particular apps, make sure that you don't give out any personal information. You want to communicate only through the app. Don't give out any email addresses or phone numbers or your physical address. If you do choose to meet a buyer, do so at a public location, coffee shop, police station, any public place. Just make sure you're safe in that instance. For additional strategies, of course, on bridging the gap, you want to check out AARP Ace Your Retirement. Again, the link is in your handout for that. So let's revisit or let's check in on Pat and Ronnie. So Pat and Ronnie, they used the AARP retirement calculator and they discovered the gap. Remember, there was a $38,177.21 if they didn't make any adjustments to their retirement before they retire. Their initial plan was to, planned earlier than 65. So they were going to retire at 67. So what did they decide to do? So first they created a budget. So they went back and did the dreaded B word. So they created a budget that allowed them to really see the difference between their monthly income and their expenses, which is the margin. The margin allowed them to build that emergency savings account that we talked about, which prevented them from accumulating any additional debt or tapping into any retirement savings to manage any unplanned expenses. And then next, they decided to tackle their credit card debt and really look at the avalanche method. They listed their account balances from the highest to the lowest interest rate, and they started paying off the highest credit cards first. Now, Pat and Ronnie found it best to build their emergency fund, and they allocated their margin each month to paying off their credit card debt. So they took their monthly income, their expenses, whatever's left, they applied it towards the debt. Now, finally, Pat and Ronnie, they made a huge decision, and they said, okay, 67 may not be the number or the age. So they made a huge decision, and they decided to work longer and work until age 70. Just by going or working those 3 extra years allowed them now to have a surplus of $163 and $840.32 as opposed to that shortfall of 38,000. Now, of course, these strategies won't work for every situation. Pat and Ronnie just happened to, look at their situation, make some adjustments, decided to work a little bit longer for them. And they were pleased, of course, with their planning, and it paid off, and they're very optimistic about their retirement plan. Now, be sure you want to, use the resources that we outlined, of course, in the presentation to look at your own retirement plan, doing the same work that Pat and Ronnie did. But, if you are in the process, especially for the people who are less than 5 years, you want to take an assessment of where you are, where the gaps may be, and maybe start filling in some of the gaps. So before we go ahead and conclude, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Sarah, I believe, is going to be helping me with questions that may have come through before I kind of do a wrap up on some additional information.
Yes, I am. And I apologize. I apologize for my voice. So hopefully you can hear me.
I can.
I don't see anything in the Q&A. It looks like all that's been resolved.
Okay.
But there's some links in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, we do have a couple questions in the Q&A. I think.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, I think I'll go on and give them to Pam.
Mm-hmm.
Pam, the first question is, how will I be able to download the tools, resources, documents, and copy of the presentation? What is the account name, username, and password to log into the CBank client login? And I'm not even certain how to answer that. I know that we do provide links to the
yeah,
tools.
and
Right.
I believe we send out an email if you registered for
Yes.
if you registered for the webinar, you'll receive a copy of the slides and then
Yes.
the handout with the link. So look out for the email probably sometime tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. All right. I had that someone said they had the same problem when they went on and tried to get the presentation, but they're going to get a link for the presentation if they've registered, and that'll be sent out in the next day or two.
Exactly.
Next question, Pam, is please explain what you mean by 2 legs in Social Security.
Okay. It wasn't the 2 legs of Social Security. It was basically talking about your 3-legged stool in retirement. So traditionally, when people retired, they had 3 legs, which was Social Security, a pension, and their own personal savings. That was kind of back in the day. That was kind of the 3-legged stool scenario. And what I was explaining now, a lot of companies and a lot of employers don't have pensions. So now we're down to 2 legs, Social Security and then personal savings, which would be your employer sponsored plan. So that was what I was referring to when I said kind of the 2 legs.
Okay, and I see Bruce has raised his hand, and I would like to ask Bruce if he could put his question in the Q&A section. He's raised his hand, but we're on a webinar right now, so we'd like you to put it in the Q&A section if you can. Let's see if he put it in chat also. I don't see, let's see. A couple people have mentioned that they had the same problem when they tried to download the presentation. So that may be something that we need to look at from our end, right? Just a couple people said that. And let's see, now Bruce has come in, I think, with his question. He said he wrongly raised his hand. So
Oh,
we,
that's okay, Bruce.
we leave no stone unturned, Bruce. We try to get back to you. All righty. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A, and let me just serve it. Let's see, Valerie. Valerie has just asked, with the 2023 Social Security increase, should we review decisions of whether to wait to take benefits?
Yes, you definitely want to go to the SSA.gov and run the calculator. Of course, you can look at the AARP Social Security calculator as well, but you want to get it from the horse's mouth and go to Social Security and see how that that COLA adjustment would affect your benefits. So it's beneficial to really go and sign up for your account and then take a look at where your numbers are with that COLA adjustment.
All righty. And Pam, I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. Let me just look one more time in chat. I see no more questions, so I think it's good for you to wrap up.
Okay, awesome. So finally, of course, after thinking about your retirement, you want building the nest egg, you want to take some steps to protect your assets. And here at AARP, we're really in the mission of protecting yourself from fraud and scam. There's a lot of things going on, especially with older Americans with scam. So AARP has a wealth of resources to empower you. There's the AARP Fraud Watch Network to learn more. The link, again, will be providing your handout. And there's also the Watchdog Alerts, which will notify you of the latest scams and the fraud tactics that are out there. And be very vigilant. We're going into the holiday season. People pop up with these things. So if anything, just go to the Watchdog Alerts so you know what's going on in terms of that. If you or you or a loved one have either a suspect or a suspect of a scam, you want to take a look at the free helpline. We're going to give you the number in your handout out, so you'll have that. Now, remember, of course, you want to reevaluate your savings and review your plan at least once a year. If you have a partner or a spouse, make sure that you're both privy to all of the household finances and information as you're planning retirement. No secrets or anything. Everything has to be out on the table. So make sure both of you guys have access to all of the information. Of course, I do this presentation once a month. We're going to be off for December, and we'll probably be back beginning of the year. But I have thoroughly enjoyed, educating you guys on retirement planning. The information and resources are, very valuable, and I hope you found value with that. So just to kind of recap, we have reviewed ways to determine how much money you would need for retirement compared to how much that you are attracted to have saved, and then strategies, of course, to bridge the gap if you find out if there's a gap as well. And so thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it back over to Opal.
All righty. So on behalf of AARP Virginia, we always thank Pamela Sams for joining us this evening and express our gratitude to her for sharing her valuable time and expertise with us this evening. I recently read an article published by Gary Koenig, who is a VP for Financial Security at AARP Policy Office. And it was called Empowering Financial Health During Uncertain Times. And it was so in line with the things that Pamela has been sharing with us today. Gary has told us in the article that those who feel most financially secure have some cash set aside, as Pamela told us, and a level of debt that's low enough that they can manage. They have an emergency fund, they have a retirement savings, and as I said, they have a debt that's management. So we learned today from Pamela that paying down debt and having a direct can have a direct effect on our financial health, an indirect effect by removing those barriers to savings. So we know that money really does have an emotional and psychological component to it. So not only do higher savings and lower debt lead to a stronger household balance, which Gary Koenig has told us, but they also address two major worries: having enough money to be financially secure in retirement, and how to handle a large unexpected expense. And isn't that what our VP of retirement planning told us today here in Northern Virginia. So thank you so much, Pamela, once again. Certainly, if you now, we'd love to get your feedback to our program. So in the chat box, you'll see a link to a survey. Please click on the link and take just a few moments to share your feedback with us. We'll also send this link out in a follow-up email. If you enjoyed the program and want to continue with us and join us again, we will be offering this program again in the new year. You can get the details for the program and all of our upcoming events, and we have some great ones, by visiting our calendar of events at www.aarp.org/virtual VA. Again, that's www.aarp.org/virtual VA. So until then, we encourage you to continue thinking about and planning for your secure financial future. Thanks so much and have a great night. Have a wonderful holiday, everyone, too.
All right,
Take
bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye. Bye. Take care.